Welcome to East by West Farms. Here we grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Today I'm going to talk about whether it's worth to buy a cheap greenhouse or not. Well, the Texas wind, our cheap greenhouse collapsed. Today, I'm going to do some post-mortem analysis of the cheap greenhouse. Maybe that will give you some idea to what to look for when you're looking for a greenhouse. We bought this greenhouse from Amazon as an experiment to see who will win, the Texas wind or the greenhouse that we did a lot of reinforcement. And the verdict is in. The Texas wind won hands on. You can see that the greenhouse is completely collapsed. We got 80-mile-per-hour wind that's almost at the border of tornado on Thursday night. It was not a huge loss because it's a cheap greenhouse. We actually learned quite a lot from using this greenhouse and trying to reinforce it for the last 2 years. So let's see what lessons we have learned from that. We know that over here we have lots of wind, very strong wind in spring. We did quite a lot of reinforcement on the frame and also make sure that greenhouse doesn't fly away. That seems helped quite a lot. The first failure mode is actually the cover. Most of the greenhouse you see will have a front door that's basically you have a zipper to open the door, and that look like it's the weakest link. Both zipper failed very quickly. The second thing that failed is actually this riveted hold-ons inside the greenhouse. It's about 1 foot above the ground, and it has these rivets so that you can tie down to the frame. When the wind is very strong, the greenhouse kind of like a balloon that gets inflated and trying to lift off. These are not strong enough, so it basically gets ripped out. There's nothing to hold it down except you put a rope above it. What could help with those tie-downs is this overlap. When the greenhouse is all covered, this should be on the ground, and you could potentially put some heavy stuff to weight it down so that you don't rely on those tie-downs to hold down the greenhouse. The overlap is only about 1 foot length, and that is not very useful because you cannot put much stuff on top of it. If I'm going to looking for a cheap greenhouse again, I will definitely want this portion to be at least 2 feet, so I can use this dirt bag and weight it down. So if you want to hold the tarp down, you definitely need something like the rope to wrap it around on top and then stake this down in the ground or in the earth bag. Most of greenhouse, of course, doesn't come with that. You can just go to a hardware store and get two 100-foot rope like this. That will help holding the tarp down. So that's the common failure mode of the tarp, and hopefully that will give you some idea to what to look for. Next, I will talk about what to look for in of the frame. First, we need to take the tarp down because it's going to fly away very quickly. This is what the frame look like after we take the cover off. It's completely broke into half. Some of the support even, I found them on the floor. Clearly, these frames are not designed to sustain this kind of wind in Texas. I think on the website, it says the wind cannot be more than 35 miles per hour, which is nothing over here. Over here, we get 50 miles per hour wind regularly, and occasionally we get this strong wind like 80 miles per hour. You might be able to get a greenhouse and really reinforce it inside. All the load will be carried what you build inside, and these are just kind of serve as a skeleton to hold the tarp in place. You probably want to find a greenhouse that has much stronger frame for if you have lots of wind in your area. Wind is one challenge in Texas. Another challenge is hail. People suggest that you put this hardware cloth on top of the greenhouse to prevent hail damage. I guess that works, but your tarp is sitting on top of this, and then when you have very strong wind, the tarp will rub against the hardware cloth and cause damage to the tarp. Others suggest that you can put pool noodles on top to separate the tarp from the greenhouse. In the farm over here, we're trying to reduce plastic use as much as possible. So that's why I actually use some old cloths to kind of put in between. And that works pretty well. The problem is it looks a little bit trashy. For reinforcement, I take this ash juniper branches and then trying to kind of put next to the frame, and then to prevent this from rubbing against the cover, I wrapped the cloth around it, trying to reduce the use of plastic. That seems to work very well. If I'm going to redo that again, I probably have to reinforce all the frames this way. The question is the cheap greenhouse worth it? The answer is a little bit complicated. When I look at my plants inside the greenhouse and see that I can save my native Texas pepper from the deep freeze we got this winter, I would say having a greenhouse definitely is an advantage. A cheap greenhouse, though, probably is not the answer. I will probably go even further to say a polytunnel probably is not a good answer if you care about reduce plastic waste. What I think I'm going to do is probably build a proper greenhouse, either using a polycarbonate panel or use glasses. Those materials will last much longer. In this video, I gave a post-mortem analysis of our cheap greenhouse. Hopefully, this will give you some idea to what to look for when you are looking for a cheap greenhouse. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it down below. If you have not done so, please hit the subscribe button to follow our journey with the East by West Farms.